Merci beaucoup. First of all, I'm going to start. Speak. The correspondence that we are with Catherine, we understood that he said. It asked me to write in English, even though it's not my language. Sometimes I'll say things in English and then I'll say it also in Haitian Creole. Okay. And it will be good for the students because we've been translating for them the whole morning. Oh, here we have a Haiti map. Gressier is where the Haitian Institute is. It is in the south.
Sud-ouest, pardon, de Port-au-Prince. Just 20 to 30 kilometers. You know, that's the southwest of Port-au-Prince. That's where we are. Okay. You can show some of the images that I had shown, but we do not have to stay long because with the previous, we know about that. Okay, those pictures I had taken myself 1 year after the coup d'etat. And this one I want to show you because when I went and sorry. Là, lapsus. Bon, après tremblement de terre, c'est parce que l'aime pas c'est moins.
When I went by and I saw all those houses that were built. It wasn't built neither by the NGOs nor by the government. I took pictures of them. There's a series of small houses. They are next to each other. They are made in plywood, and then there are common areas.
Where people can take their shower or go to the bathroom. There was no kitchen and no place, for people to do the laundry. Mostly about the kitchen, I thought, okay, what happened? Because I know the Haitian people would start trying to cook. But what if there is a fire? We are living in a country where, unfortunately, the fire service is not organized. So if any fire goes to those houses, then I don't know how many victims or what could happen. So in my head, I thought that those people, of course, they have taken some models from outside, but they didn't think about the reality in Haiti. This is why I wanted to show that picture. Okay, you can go ahead. Yeah. Those are other pictures. This is, I think it was IOM, International Organization for Migration, who did those. So you can see there were different things. This picture shows what the private sector, some businessmen offered. This was done, and you can still see it when you go in Port-au-Prince. It's not too far from the airport. I went to talk to the people to try to find out the condition, how much, etc. They cost between $8,000 to $28,000, but they were not given, and the person was not ready to either rent it or to sell it to just one person. He wanted to deal with a bank, so the bank could, make loans to people. Very good, I understand the idea. The problem is then that means that it's only professional or people who have a steady job who could afford that. Okay? Next. Okay, this is ITECA. Unfortunately, there was another picture that I took out, and then after that I thought, okay, I should have shown it. When I went 1 year after, you see, because the earthquake had destroyed a lot of buildings, and people in Haiti were saying it had destroyed the big three E's, les trois E, l'école, l'église, et l'État. So a lot of the state institutions were totally down, and I saw one of the public service using just some containers, with air condition, but that's the office where I went to, and I found that they used creativity. I suppose that it was just provisional, but I had taken that picture. I think that's it. but now I am just going to concentrate on ITECA. ITECA started, first a few words about the institution. ITECA is an institute, so normally we do training. We had chosen to work with rural people, with the farmers, the poor people living in the mountains. So this is the targeted group of ITECA. And from the beginning, we thought that we had to offer two things: techniques for people to improve their life, but also a number of courses for social cohesion and for having people get together, work together in harmony. Okay, so that means that for us, it is working using our two legs to work. The two things are important, and the two things have to go together. And in this particular case, building those houses, it has been important, and we have also explained to our counterparts that it was important to keep the people working for animation, that's how we call it, but people working in the community to motivate them, to help them keep working together, and at the same time provide and accompany them, offering technical facilities or technical skills. Why did ITECA didn't want to go and make transitional housing? One reason is that, as I said earlier, of course at the beginning, ITECA itself was it, so we had access to tents and emergency material. So that means that the people at ITECA had been able to help at the beginning. But after some time, because we are talking about peasants, people from the rural area, so they went back to their plots to make their living. So they were already working with their lands, and they started themselves out of the debris of their houses to make some transitional shelters. So when some organizations came and offered and proposed these shelters, we thought that not only we didn't want to go anything provisional. If you know Haiti, you know that provisional happened to be permanent, so we didn't want that. Second thing is that in that case, it was totally irrelevant because people had already made some kind of makeshift houses. If we had to go to something, we had to try to build some more permanent houses. And you will see we even had to discuss with the people about how big to make the house. One of the funders, Father Yvon Joseph, that you happen to know, he told us that if you go, or if ITECA should get into the business of helping people with their houses, we have to go by what we profess. We believe in human dignity, so that means that we are not going to give people or to let people have little houses, you know, where they cannot have a proper or a decent living. Some critics about the donor-led to houses. I think that one of the biggest mistakes has been the outsiding of the Haitian government and the state apparatus by the international organization and the NGOs. This has resulted in making the Haitian state and government even weaker. To ensure the safety of its people is part of the responsibility of any government. So that means that I think it has been a mistake. I hope, not only for Haiti, but any other place, if international organizations go somewhere or the NGOs, we have to work with the people that are there, and the organization that are there, you know, to provide the services to the people. There was an overwhelming presence of NGOs working in all directions with no coordination, competing one with another, targeting mostly high visibility. That's what I have seen. Some big NGOs have even made profit of the humanitarian assistance. Some members of the personnel were pursuing their own interests. Priority, that's another thing, was given to immediate results rather than more permanent ones. International organizations and NGOs recruited and brought along their own personnel. One of the problems comes from the fact that most expats, the foreigners, believe that they know it all or that they know better, while they were not familiar with the reality of our country. Even in some technical fields, like architecture and engineering, many lacked the needed level of expertise. I'm not, and this is not what I am pursuing in saying that, it's not that I am against foreign aid or foreign people. We do have at ITECA some foreigners working with us, but at least they have incorporated the staff. They are working with us as a team. And I think that is the good thing, and that's the way to do it. Another problem I think that I can say about the organization is that they created false expectations. Someone else has said that earlier. Theoretically, there would be temporary aid or emergency help, then transitional houses, and a lot of, after that, then there will be the permanent ones. Now, unfortunately, I think that ITECA is victim of its own success. Some organizations now are coming to us, asking us for permanent houses. We do not have the money, but those were organizations that had received from other NGOs, like that insurance that they were going to be given permanent houses. Now, how did we do that? How did we build the houses? First, we started by a survey, and the survey was not made only by people, the staff of ITECA, but with people in the community. We set up criteria to determine the most needy people, the most vulnerable, and in our region, we found 1,700 families. We had meetings with them, even to come up with some houses plans. Of course, we have had architects working with our team, but we could discuss with the people and propose them something. And of course, a lot of them could not understand. Even I, who has been in school, cannot understand all the architect plans. So that means that people wanted things more concrete, and we started to build some prototypes. They came, they visited, they said, they discussed, they suggested, and then that's how we came up with them, to the permanent houses. We took into consideration, we took into account the local people's criticism and suggestion. Then, and this is the part of in animation, we work with them with 7 or 10 families. It is like a combat, so one helping the other. Technical and social staff were working in tandem. And every week, we would have a review of achievements, problems encountered, so we could adjust or, if there were mistakes, make the correction. Something else we did that we feel is important, we set up a steering committee with members of the staff, members of the people who are in charge, but also with local people and the government. I will talk to you later on with our collaboration or cooperation with the government. And finally, it is only people who are working together, not only on their own house, but also on the the neighbor's houses, and it is only when all the 7 or 10 families' houses were done that we would give the keys. So that means that nobody would just go to his house if everything was not completed. Finally, because I have to try to finish up now, I think it is important to tell about the government. We're working in the rural area, but working in the mountains. That means that even to take things, let's say the iron steel or the steel, the cement, etc., to the people or to where we had to build the houses, that was difficult. So we asked the Ministry of Public Works to help us, and they did. At that time it was CNE, to get to a road. It's not a total road or not full built road, but at least we could get access to some places with the materials that we needed. The second thing that ITECA did, which is important, was to work with the municipality. A lot of the people had been living in the land for a long time, but they didn't have the title, the papers, the legal papers. So we had the Ministry of Justice and the municipality give a paper, a certificate that this is the family that has been living and that is living in that place. And in those papers, it's not only the name of the adults or the husband or the wife, the whole family. So that means that if anything happened, I don't think that the man could kick his wife and then go and bring someone else, you know. So that means that it is to protect the whole family in the space. And also there is some agreement, so that means that they cannot just now decide to sell the houses. But from what I know, they would not do that because they are so happy to have that house anyway. We also worked, ITECA had money and also hired technicians, you know, to get water all the way to the places, because all the houses that we built have make a storage of 10,000 gallons of water. But we work also with DINEPA. We brought drinkable water to the community, but people in DINEPA had been trained, and now it is the state organization taking care of that, okay? So there are still a lot of work to do. For example, the electricity, we had seen that with just one battery, we could have solar energy for each house. We have not been able to deliver that because most of the donors that we have approached, you know, didn't pick up that. But there are some poles in the region, so at least the children have a place where they can go study in the evening. We are training the people to maintain the house, to keep it nice, and they are already doing that, but we know that later on they will need to do more maintenance. And finally, something that is not totally done yet is to set up biogas, you know, to get to make a better use of the organic waste. So that means that there is a lot. We have not finished working. We were hoping to make 1,700 houses. We have been able only to make 650. Now that we have the equipment, some equipment, we also have the knowledge, the skills. We are hoping, studying the way, how could we develop into making something more stable to provide some houses that would remain in Creole social et solidaire. So it would still be commune, but people have to work on solidarity. Everything is not settled yet, but we are trying to see how can we continue providing or working in the construction because it is a need in the country. Thank you.